Galnet News, your galaxy in focus. 26th of January, 3302. Our top story today, the Distant Worlds Expedition, a huge exploration and science mission involving over 700 pilots, has now reached and passed the Eagle Nebula. The mission, which was the follow-on to the famous Commander Eramus expedition conducted in 3301 aboard the DSS Eagle, aims to reach the far side of the galaxy, but there are more than a few stops along the way. The trip embarked on the 14th of January this year and has progressed through the Shapley 1 region and the extremely colourful Lagoon Nebula, where pilots were granted an optional and potentially risky excursion to the black hole at Thor's Eye. By the 23rd of January, pilots had reached the Omega Nebula at a place dubbed Camp Batuta, where they had already covered over 6,000 light-years from their starting point. Their latest stop, the Eagle Nebula, is extremely compact and contains many stars less than a single light-year apart. The expedition's aim was to explore some of the less charted worlds in this area, making rendezvous at Mount Magellan before setting off across the Sagittarius Arm. Their next destination is NGC 6357, where the expedition will have crossed the 10,000 light-year mark before continuing towards the other side of the galaxy and into the unknown. Some news on the Antares now, after the Sirius Corporation responds to calls for clarity. Since the wreckage of the Highliner Antares was recovered several weeks ago, the families of those who lost their lives aboard the ship have been lobbying the Sirius Corporation for more information. Specifically, questions have been asked about where the wreckage was found and if any human remains were recovered. The corporation, evidently aware that the public is hungry for more information, has now released a statement in which they said, "We are aware that some sectors of the galactic community believe we have not been sufficiently transparent regarding our research into the Antares. Please be assured that any lack of clarity is in no way indicative of a desire to withhold information. It is simply a reflection of our focus on our research. In light of this, we can confirm that the remains of the Antares were found in the Luyten 205128 system and that no organic remains were recovered. As for the cause of the explosion, we can only reiterate our earlier statement that a cascade failure in the hyperdrive's internal containment systems triggered an explosion within the drive. Although the precise cause of the explosion is not yet known, we believe that any additional information will only corroborate our assessment that the destruction of the Antares was nothing more than a tragic accident. We would like to take this opportunity to extend our condolences to those who lost loved ones aboard the Antares." This report now from Commander Lord Zoltan. Dr. Arcanonn from the Canon Interstellar Research Group has released a statement to the galactic media. He said, "I am now working from a new laboratory, 2 kilometers underground, at a secret location. My colleagues have forced me to relocate in the interests of my own safety. The death threats began shortly after I urged the galactic community to search for the Barnacles. As word reached us of fellow scientists disappearing under mysterious circumstances, we realized the threats were not idle. But the work must go on. I urge you to continue to gather meta-alloys for Professor Palin. He is our best hope to solve the station malfunctions, but stay away from people harboring the irrational idea that this endeavor will lead to our annihilation." This statement references the growing belief amongst the galactic community that the alien life found at the so-called Barnacles is using the meta-alloys in order to spread its influence and possibly alien organisms throughout the galaxy, perhaps in a malevolent attempt to harm humanity. These claims are merely rumors at this stage with no supporting evidence, but they have many supporters who oppose Dr. Arcanonn's wishes, and the meta-alloys have been extremely successful thus far in resolving the many station malfunctions that have been occurring recently in inhabited space. Some unusual news now. Earlier this week, an unknown transmission was received throughout portions of the galaxy containing what appears to be a threat against the Alliance. The transmission follows in full.
You believe that power rests securely in your hands. You believe that your dominance is assured. You believe that no one would dare go against you. We have sat in the shadows, biding our time. We will make you remember the bitter taste of defeat, and we will extract our pound of flesh piece my peace. Mahon, the coward, you claim to desire freedom from the shackles of the Federation and the Empire. But the veterans of Lu, remember, Edmund Mahon, the puppet, you will taste our wrath first. Be a good dog and roll over. Ut cementum deceris ita metis.
The origin of the transmission is unknown at this time, but some have speculated the mention of a dog is a reference to the Smiling Dog Crew faction, while others point out that the message relates to the Lu system, which was the site of an attempt to break free from Federation rule, in which many pilots rallied behind the cause of the Crimson State group. The words at the end of the transmission are from the ancient Earth language Latin, and roughly translate into the modern tongue as, "You will reap what you sow." More from Galnet on this transmission as soon as it becomes available. I'm joined now by Commander Nightshady of the 13th Legion, who are featured in Galnet News recently with their important announcement that they have now converted to be the Empire's 13th Legion. Commander Nightshady, could you give us some background on how your organization started, first of all?
Absolutely. Our group started under the Prismatic Imperium, which is in Cubio. We started as the military arm of that political group. We did a very good job controlling the Cubio system. We expanded out to include all of Iceland space. And with the recent cohesion of the Empire in the last couple months, we then decided to expand our reach to defend all of the Empire systems.
And was that a group decision, or were there other factors in play?
We decided to expand to the entire Empire after discussing with the Imperial High Command what we could offer to the Empire. We also discussed this with other factions, and we had almost unanimous support to expand our combat defensive patrolling to include not just Iceland space, but the entire Empire as well.
Now, your official title is Lord Commander Nightshady. How did that come about, and what's your background within the organization?
I started with the 13th Legion shortly after its inception. Of course, I was just a regular pilot. I proved myself in combat in several battles, including the 34 Pegasi Wars, which was our longest campaign. I was asked to be the combat operations commander and lead all of our wings. Then when the founder and previous Lord Commander Andariel stepped down, I was then asked to lead the entire 13th Legion.
And how about Vice Lord Silent Shadow? What role does he play within the organization?
Commander Silent Shadow and I have known each other for a long time. We were both recruited to the 13th Legion about the same time. We've flown together in combat for many, many months. Whenever I was elected to be the Lord Commander, he was my first choice for my second in command.
Now, you say that the 13th Legion can have a full wing of combat ships within 15 minutes in an Empire contested area. How have you found the combat? Has it been attacks on the Empire's territory, or is this more of a defensive measure for now?
Certainly, there are so many Empire systems. You get lots of pirates in there attacking. We get the Federation in attacking our system. So what we've established is a Imperial Defense Network where pilots can report to us if there's enemy commanders. The biggest issue we had was getting combat ships across the galaxy now that we're covering an area that covers thousands of square light years. We solved this problem by setting up forward operating bases in various places across the galaxy. So when we get an alert, we'll send an immediate scout ship to check out the system to ensure that there are hostiles there, while other pilots take light reconnaissance ships to the forward operating bases to get their combat ships and then deploy. The system has worked pretty well so far. We're still in the process of setting up all our bases, but we have been able to respond to reports of enemy commanders usually within 15 minutes and normally with a full wing of combat ships.
And how do you respond to allegations within the galactic community that your organization has been responsible for deliberately targeting those combat pilots who are less experienced?
I would say that those are completely untrue allegations. I think that whenever you are good at combat and you are good at killing enemy ships, the pilots for the factions that we go to war with, they're not too happy with us, so they tend to spread a lot of rumors. We are not what you would consider murderers or griefers. You know, we are defenders of the Empire. If we see enemy ships causing a problem, we're going to take care of them. But everything we do is well within the boundaries of the rules of war.
Now tell me, if there were a rupture within the Empire, where two particular Empire groups decided to take a system, and perhaps there was a conflict over it, how would you resolve that situation within your own organization, given that you now represent the whole Empire?
We would go to the Imperial High Command for guidance. I fortunately hope that would not be a problem. We've seen a recent cohesion of all the Empire factions, which started 2 or 3 months ago after the combined efforts against Felicia Winters and the Federation. This was a big turning point, I believe, for the Empire, where we went from being different squabbling factions to one cohesive Imperial unit.
Lord Commander Nightshady of the now Empire's 13th Legion, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to come and talk with you. We really appreciate it.
That's the Galnet news for today. Tune in next time to keep your galaxy in focus.